we're trying to move from systemic oppression to a world that looks more racially just, this is how we connect those dots. We find those books that show our humanity, that we are a people who are in need of connection, that we have depth and character, and we experience the same range of human emotions that everybody else does, regardless of the race.
But I'm actually a believer that it is important we tell these stories, that we celebrate them. And I'm also a believer that stories can be a great sort of source of inspiration for any good cause.
Continue to show up, continue to understand that we are the shapers of history. They may call it revisionist, they can call it whatever they want, but we are not gonna gaslight, and I'm taking from you, Diego, because that's one of the things I learned today. We are not doing gaslighting. Our voices matter. Our lives matter. Our narratives matter. We are historians and we are shapers of history.
And so it's important to see how something that happened 3,000 years ago can carry on today.
And my overall goal is just to be an advocate for my future patient population, and to bring attention to health inequities and health injustice that are affecting all people, and particularly Black and Brown people.
Well, money talks, but action talks even louder. Shop Black. Shop Black for yourself, shop Black for your kids, shop Black for your family members, shop Black for everyone.
When I like to think about what we teach, what we know as facts, it's far more far-reaching than just academia. It's what we talk about. It's how we frame who we are. It's our textbooks that say what our story is. It's how we perceive ourselves as Americans.
Understand that when you're speaking to somebody else that doesn't look like you, that didn't have your upbringing, they just speak a different language.
And I think in this moment, it's crossing over to that line around vulnerability that builds allyship. Because if they don't know you're in pain, no one can help you.
If we're going to stay connected, if we're going to heal this country, if we're going to do the work, on the ground, so that in the next decade or 2 decades, et cetera, because this is going to be a long fight, and it has been a long fight, to see just even more progress, we have to stay in communication with each other, to make sure that, we're moving as a unit, and not just as a bunch of individuals.
The world itself is fluid. We need to love the fluidity in everybody else too.
What I'm trying to set as an intention, especially for younger generation, is that I would like to express my stories, and give other people the space to kind of just look into themselves and what identity means to them.
I implore you, everyone that is here today, that you also make sure that you take the time for yourself to check in. Check in with yourself to see how you are doing, okay? Because if you're not okay, you can't help others.
You never know where negativity is going to come from. It can come from your own. You never know where prejudice is going to come from. It can come from people that knew you since you were born.
If people didn't laugh at us, harass us, punch us in the face on the subway for wearing masks back in January, but instead just started wearing masks early on, I wonder how many lives could have been saved. I wonder how many days of shutdown we could have avoided. So these are just questions I guess I want people to ask themselves and to kind of consider when you see someone who's doing something different from you and you want to sort of judge them for it.
Our general purpose is to look after one another, and to continue to do so into the future.
We can stop simplifying ourselves in order to learn to love ourselves and in turn love others. We can stop simplifying ourselves to see that basic human rights and a society that values its people over individual wealth is worth having because there is more than enough.
Punishment can never resolve trauma, but empathy and healing can, because healed people heal people.
Granted, some people aren't friendly. So I give them some leeway, but I think I'm going to just keep trying to kill them with kindness. But for those who never wave back or will never be open to knowing me, I think it's their loss.
So if you don't want to be the problem, be the solution. And I challenge yourself to be the catalyst of change. Challenge yourself to lead with love, lead with respect, and lead with compassion for your fellow humankind.
It starts with us sharing and caring enough to look, listen, and learn more about cultural differences without fear.
I think the first thing is just starting out by acknowledging and asserting that
This is a shared problem that because it exists, it's all of our problem. It's all of our responsibility to engage in and to find solutions.
Let's always leave space for finding the beauty in our truth and also being willing to sharing our truth.
So we may not change everything in this 1 hour, and we're not expecting to have these huge leaps, but we are hoping that we can connect the dots to be a part of change.
Support the people who are doing the things that you would like to see done. If you can do part of it yourself, fabulous. If you can't, for whatever reason, support those who do.
Start to think about what steps do we need to take to actualize that crazy creative vision? What steps do we need to actualize to get you to dream even bigger?
Teach others through your own actions. Support others when they're affected. Take risks. Do what you can to prevent the existence of racism and its opportunity to negatively impact any more lives.
I'm really hopeful that when we're all united by a common social value and have a common social goal, and that there's a willingness to change, that nothing is impossible.
And that's where people make changes, when they know that they can say something positive without the anger, without the arguing, and they can figure out what their truth is to make the statement.
If we make that same effort in education, I really truly believe we can change behavior and hopefully change the interior as well, and that we will see a change over time.
While we are standing up and encouraging the voice of others, that maybe it's time for us to just take a pause, to pause our voice, to pause our energy, and to find that quiet place inside of us or outside of us and recharge.
May you learn to be a good friend to yourself. May you be able to journey to that place in your soul where there is great love, warmth, feeling, and forgiveness.
How do I make sure I have the clarity and the control over the situation that I want, that I'm being proactive and not reacting to everything happening? And how do I keep building those relationships that are going to support me, that network who is going to want to be there to help when things go off the rails?
And I ask of you, when you see something that doesn't look right, go to your government's website and seek out the facts and make informed opinions and choices. When we access information that is ours, the knowledge gain opens doors. It provides the opportunity to educate ourselves, others, and helps us become agents of change within our community.
Educate your children. They control the future of our country. We must educate our children to live in a democracy. We must teach them the rules of democracy.
We all feel the same way, but I think that if we just reach out and talk to other people and see if we can help them, it's going to make a difference. It's going to help us feel a little better too.
We are constantly in this battle and this struggle of which identity to lead with. We should develop all of them. How about bringing that blended, identity to every situation? Because the multifaceted world we live in should be able to make room for all of the identities that make us who we are.
How we can transmit empathy, and and maybe the bottom line of working towards social justice is empathy, and the more we can see each other, see ourselves in each other, then we're not going to be as rigid and dogmatic and prejudiced.
I think that we spend a lot of time in society focusing on the problem and bringing a lot of awareness to the problems and bringing a lot of value to the trauma versus value to the solutions. And there are many solutions, and we are all part of the issue, especially when we're talking about sex trafficking.
So perhaps as a closing statement for my session, I would say the beauty of the world lies in the diversity of its people.
So I think we're on the cusp of something really, really special. I'm excited to talk to you all and to join the discussion around what a future of food could look like. That's not just, healthier, but also restorative of our climate and provides opportunities for everybody.
We should always think about the language we use and be empathetic of what we use, because what we use become the reality.
And I think that's the beauty of connecting the dots. It's the beauty of the work that you're doing right now, because what's really important is that we talk about what real value is. So if we are having a social justice conversation, a social justice conversation is inextricably linked to a civil rights conversation, which is inextricably linked to a civil society conversation. And a civil society is one that provides opportunity for everyone.